trying to start the old motorcycle that the farmer hasn't used in decades. It's not yet dawn, and the Scarecrow has found a gas can with a little gas left in it, and is pumping air into the tires that haven't had air in them since before the farmer and his wife had kids, and now the farmer's kids have kids of their own. The Scarecrow pulls some straw from out of his collar and stuffs it into the cracks of the old leather seat, and oils the parts with the oil can the farmer uses for his tractor and tools. And then the Scarecrow tries again to start the motorcycle with these old stuffed pants he calls his legs, stamping down, and these old stuffed shoes he calls his feet, stomping down and stomping down again on the Kickstarter in the otherwise silent barn. If the Scarecrow weren't a scarecrow, he might be a strolling violinist who it appears at your table and waits for you to fall in love with your wife again, or to wave him off anyway with a dollar bill. Or he might be a ship's captain, standing on the bow of his ship, looking out across the water, looking toward a place he once thought of as home. If the Scarecrow weren't a scarecrow, he might be a glass of water in a thirsty man's hand, or a set of keys to an ex-lover's apartment. Keys you don't know if you ever had the emotional strength to remove from the hook inside your door. If the Scarecrow weren't a scarecrow. He might know a lot about oceans, or how to swim across oceans. He might be a little boy running up to the waves. Up to the waves, up to the waves, if the Scarecrow weren't a scarecrow. He might pass a scarecrow from a car on some back road and barely notice the Scarecrow out there, looking almost like a falling down man. Or if he does notice, he might wonder for a moment what it must be like to stand that still, and then switch the radio station and start singing along, having completely forgotten about the Scarecrow back there, before the chorus, before more than a couple miles have even gone by. If the Scarecrow weren't a scarecrow. If the Scarecrow weren't a scarecrow, he might be you, or he might be me, or he might be just someone else who is neither you nor me. Someone perhaps who doesn't even know that he or she is not a scarecrow, and never was one, perhaps at all, who does not feel the pang of not being who he or she might have been. Who does not feel the pang of not being who he or she might have been, as you and I and the Scarecrow himself feel such a pang every time we consider how things and we might have been different. Everything the Scarecrow is, everything the Scarecrow was, is what the Scarecrow is still. He was still. Every silence the Scarecrow breathes is every silence he has always breathed. He breathes silence. He breathes silence, still. Still there is no softly like the softly of dandelions, like the softly of their little heads exploding, like the softly of the sudden shrapnel of them as they tear apart everything, even the sun. Everything the Scarecrow is everything the Scarecrow was before this. After this, every silence breathed is every breath of silence the Scarecrow has ever breathed, still. Still, I would whisper this into your voicemail. I would type this in the dark into my phone and send it to you as a text. I would water this like a plant and let the plant grow outside your window. I would write this on the back of a postcard and wish that I could go back a few years to send you this postcard. For you to receive it in some hotel somewhere, for you to read it by an open window and pretend that it is a telegram and pretend that it is the beginning of something that will treat you softly. There is no softly like the flashing lights going past in the street below when you can't hear the sirens because you're dreaming, and in the dreaming you cannot hear the sirens. Everything the Scarecrow shouts out the car window as he's speeding down the highway is everything he is shouting just to remember what you looked like when you came out of the bath with that white towel and a twist on top of your head. I wrote you this in the back of an envelope. Ladies in nightgowns were leaning out high windows, clipping laundry to lines. It was May, and now it is many years since that May, so many Mays ago. There is no silence like the word envelope, or the emptiness of envelopes when they are empty. A scarecrow in a field is an envelope. He will be stuffed with messages and sent to you, if there is a post office around here that handles parcels as heavy as our hearts. Thoughts in Brooklyn at 3 a.m. The Scarecrow is the polar opposite of the Scarecrow. If you were to take everything the Scarecrow ever invented and subtract it from the moon, you would have nothing left but the absence of the moon. You have seen miles-long traffic jams, you have watched parades going by, but you have never seen anything as painstaking, as beautiful as the Scarecrow moving slowly across the horizon. I wrote you a postcard which began, "Dear What Broke Me," and asked the Scarecrow to deliver it to you. I'm guessing the Scarecrow never delivered it to you. If I get up now and make coffee, I'm almost certain the Scarecrow will be waiting for me on the stoop to watch a whole lot of nothing going by. Each eyelid is a tiny movie screen. One is showing a silent movie of the Scarecrow the day the farmer's wife waves to him. The other is an endless reel of credits rolling. Mise en scène, it says, Monsieur Epouvantail. If I dream the Scarecrow walking toward me, if I dream the Scarecrow walking toward you, and you dream the Scarecrow walking toward me, will our scarecrows meet somewhere between here and wherever it is you are dreaming? It just occurred to me that the Scarecrow is wearing my wedding suit, which also happens to be my funeral suit. So those flowers he is holding, well, Scarecrow is lost at sea, but he's only standing on a beach. In fact, the beach is not a beach, but simply the field where the Scarecrow always stands. The Scarecrow is lost at sea. The waves rise up and tear apart his little boat. He is sunburnt. His lips are blistered. He is lost at sea, and he sees far off the land, and on the land a woman hoisting sails or flags, or maybe it is the farmer's wife hanging laundry. Again, maybe the laundry is a signal for him to know that there's land, for him to know that he may be lost, but he can be found. He calls out, "I'm lost, I'm lost." But his voice too is lost in the roar of the ocean, which is not just the breeze, which is just the breeze for the corn tassels. And he doesn't know really. He doesn't really know anything. He doesn't really call out. He's silent as usual, hoping the farmer's wife will see him out there, tossed this way and that by the merciless sea. And she does. She finished hoisting her sails or the flags or the laundry, and she stops and puts a hand to her forehead, shading her eyes. And she sees him and she waves, and the ocean quiets, and the wind stops howling, and he tries as best as he can, tries but cannot wave back. He would somehow fall backwards, the Scarecrow, from his stake. He would fall backwards and manage somehow to land perfectly in the sheet she had just pulled from the line. The farmer's wife was about to fold, and when she would fold one end over the other, one corner to meet the other corner in a silent kiss, he would be wrapped in that sheet, the Scarecrow, like a baby swaddled, or more accurately, like a butterfly about to unfurl itself from its cocoon. And then she would be unhappy with her folding, and she would open the sheet back up, the farmer's wife, and hold two corners and snap out the sheet with a whoosh, like a parachute opening, launching him into flight. And he would be so light up there, the Scarecrow, weightless as the breath of a dandelion or a far-off puff of starlings. And he would watch her face from up there as if she, the farmer's wife, were seeing a miracle somehow unloosed by her fingers and somehow untied to this farm. And she would be partially shrouded by the white sheet for an instant, partially hidden by his cocoon, his fallen parachute, as he, this bird or butterfly, flew above her, and she, this woman, Evelyn perhaps, would not look so weary then, and she would not look so sad then, as he, the Scarecrow, for that one tiny moment, took flight. The farmer and his wife will stop midday and drink iced tea. They will sit on the porch glider and drift out. Drift their heads back and their mouths open, and the Scarecrow will wonder if, like him, they dream of nothing but escape. The farmer and his wife will escape, if they're dreaming of escape, into the distance he only stares out at, but will one day truly see. Distance he will ride through on a motorcycle nobody ever thinks about anymore. And yet it's there, it's always there. It's always there in the barn, all gassed up and ready for him, poised for his escape, yet as still and quiet as the farm itself. As still and quiet as the word escape, unleashed by the Scarecrow's lips and taken away by the wind itself.